Guys, my name's Michael, and this is my story of how I became a Christian. I grew up with a mentality that in order to make it in life, you had to study hard and work hard, and my parents instilled upon me that education was really important in order for you to kind of succeed in life. I was a good person. I had a nominal Catholic upbringing, and that would mean that we'd go to Mass occasionally, especially during Christmas and over Easter. My view of God was weird. It was like he was this very strict parent. You kind of had to bargain with him, do the right things. And I remember my family members telling me once to go and touch the robe of the priest in order to get more holy or whatever. My entire world, though, was shaken when a family member passed away when I was about 12. I remember as a kid, it was the hardest I ever prayed, but God didn't save them. As a kid growing up, this really shook me because I was also really afraid of death, this reality of oblivion, the kind of idea that you cease to exist or exist in a state of nothingness, where your relationships and everyone you've ever known would be lost. And I remember being burdened by that, and I think deep down, I think we're all afraid of death. Perhaps we fool ourselves into thinking that we're not by busying ourselves with the next goal in life, finishing school, getting a job, getting a girlfriend, getting married, owning a house, having kids, working your way up the corporate ladder, whatever it is, and then retiring. But I guess in my teenage years, I stopped going to church entirely. I drifted completely away from God. I still had a lot of questions about life and meaning, and somehow I knew that life was more than about getting a job and going on holidays. It wasn't though until uni that I had the freedom to kind of explore some of these questions that I had. I remember watching debates between theists and atheists on YouTube, and I found the Christian worldview quite intellectually compelling at the time as well. Around that time, a friend he invited me along to church for the first time, and people at church they invited me to a Bible study, and it was the first time I actually sat down and read the Bible for myself, and there were people there to help me to understand it. And so, for the first time, I came to understand who Jesus is. He actually said and did things that no one would even think of saying. He said, for example, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And so my secular worldview constructed over my teenage years just began to crumble as I began to understand who Jesus is and what he had done for me. You see, Jesus died to rescue us from our sin, our rejection of God and the world that he made us in. And he forgives us of all of that, and he instead holds out eternal life with him. My search for truth and life was ultimately found in Jesus and what he had done for me. He died and he rose again. And so, my invitation for you watching this is to reach out to a trusted Christian friend. Read the gospel with them if you haven't. That's all from me.